Hi everybody, Mix Morris here, and we are going to talk about plot structure. Welcome to our first self-paced Modern Classroom Nearpod lesson. Remember that as you are taking in this video, you should be writing notes. I gave you a paper copy of the notes for today, and as you see the different things pop up on the screen, you should be taking notes right on your piece of paper. There's also a Schoology version for those of you that are at home or absent, so that you could do the online version instead. Okay, our objective, and I'm sorry that the target is kind of showing up funny. I will be able to correctly identify what each of the parts of the plot structure map mean. So we have this plot structure map, and we are going to be identifying the different parts and what they mean. So to break it down, the word plot means all of the events that happen in the story. Every single thing, from the beginning to the end. Structure is the way the events and ideas are organized in a story. So it's the decisions the author makes, like, where do I want the story to begin? Who do I want to be in this story? What do I want to be the big thing that happens in the middle with the climax? Where do I want it to go from there? How do I want it to resolve? Happy ending, sad ending? That's all up to the author when they're thinking about structure. So this is just an overview of the plot structure map. We start with the exposition, go up to the rising action, we hit the climax, which is the turning point, go down to the falling action, and then finally land in the resolution. We don't have to worry too much about this right now. We're going to be breaking it down piece by piece. So let's see it, and make sure to have your notes ready. You should have already written down plot and structure on your notes in that first little table. Let's see the next part. Exposition. The beginning of the story where characters and setting are introduced. So it is the who, the characters, and the where, or the setting. The rising action. This is the sequence of events that lead up to the climax. These events can be exciting, so awesome, exciting, woo! It could be tense, like anxiety, nervousness. It could be complicated, like there's just so much going on that it's really hard to keep track. There are just so many things happening all at once. Sequence of events, this word, sequence, all that means is all of the things that happen in a certain order. So for example, every day you have a schedule that you follow, right? And if it's a day 1, a day 2, a day 3, you have a different sequence of classes that you go to. So for example, on day 1, you go to A, B, C, D, E, F. And then the sequence on day 2 is B, E, C, D, F, A. The sequence on day 3 is E, F, C, D, A, B. And the sequence on day 4 is F, A, C, D, B, E. So the sequence is just the order that things happen. So when we're talking about the rising action, we want you to see the events as they happen in order. The climax, this is the turning point of the story where the character makes an important choice that leads to success or failure. So the characters at a point, they make a big decision and nothing is the same after. Everything changes. Falling action. Again, sequence of events. It's just the order that the events happen. So the falling action is the sequence of events after the climax, where the story starts to settle and loose ends are tied up. So things are starting to settle down for the characters. All the different questions that you had while you were reading are starting to be answered. We're starting to come towards the end of the story. The falling action is usually the smallest part. The rising action is usually the biggest part. And it just describes what's happening between the climax in the beginning or the climax in the ending. Resolution. This is the end of the story where the conflicts are resolved for the characters. Everything is resolved. Everything is fixed. And the characters are able to move on with their lives. So, once again, we have our map of plot structure. We have the exposition at the beginning, the who and the where. We have the rising action, the sequence, all the events that happen in order that lead up to the climax. Sometimes there can be tension, there can be happy, there can be complicated things, all sorts of things. Climax is where everything turns and changes. The character makes an important decision that leads to success or failure. Falling action is the sequence of events after the climax. Everything settles, loosens up, and then hits the resolution where things are resolved. And the resolution is at a different level than the exposition because the character has changed, things have changed, and it ends in a different place than it began. So make sure that if you need to go back and pause and replay to take all of your notes down. You're going to be asked next to do a drag and drop where you take the different levels of the plot map, the exposition, rising action, climax, and you match it to the definition. Use your notes for that. Then at the end, you'll have the option to watch a really great plot structure rap that a teacher made, and it gets stuck in my head all the time. It's been stuck in my head the last few days, so I recommend watching it. When you're done with that, make sure to go back into the Schoology page and go to step 2.